to talk about thinking out of the box now, and this is something that I think you'll find very fascinating. We are victims of our thinking patterns. We are victims of our thinking patterns. Our thinking patterns control our behavior, and we're not even aware of it. We need a systematic way to break our patterns. There are a number of techniques. I recognize 5 that work pretty well. There are some others that I don't normally use. One thing about these techniques is that they are illogical. If they were logical, you would stay in the box. That's where logic is. And that's very, very useful for lots of things. But if you're going to think out of the box, it's a great disabler if you stay logical all the time. We have to create a break in the walls of our box in order to sneak through, and I'm going to show you how that works right here. First step, 3 steps. Here's the first step. We first have to empty our box here. This is the box that we think inside of. We are the little red dot. Notice that there are 2 walls there. One wall is our set of assumptions, and the other wall is our patterning thinking, our logical thinking, and the patterning system that controls us. So once we have emptied the box by brainstorming, and the folks in this workshop the last 2 days will tell you it's a real push, we push till there's nothing left. That gets all the stuff out that you would get just by thinking, and it can be very, very useful. When that's finished, though, then we apply one of these 5 kickers and kick ourselves mentally to our zone of discomfort outside the box, where we will have a very uncomfortable idea, and you don't want to hang around there long. It's too uncomfortable. So we quickly move to the next step of going up the ladder of abstraction and asking, what's the most basic concept underlying that idea? And then when we have a good workable concept, then we will move to the next chart of asking how we can use that concept to solve our problem. It's in a new box that's bigger than the old one and overlies the old box probably. But we're asking, how can we use that concept now to create a useful idea to solve our problem? Now, at DuPont, I was involved with the patent system a lot, and it turns out that the patent office lays down 3 requirements for getting a patent. The criteria: it has to be novel, it has to be useful, it has to be unobvious to those skilled in the prior art. That's the way the law reads. That says new, useful, and unexpected. That's what this will do for you. New and unexpected because you go outside the box, and useful because you tie it back to solving a problem that matters to you. New, useful, and unexpected. Here are the 5 techniques that we'd like to talk about and use: reversing hidden assumptions, forcing associations, and I'll talk about these in more detail in a minute. The outrageous idea: what would I never do? It's just so outrageous and wicked and disgusting, I'd never do it. And if it meets that criteria, by definition, you're outside your box already. Other points of view: how would some provocative person or personality attack this problem? What would Al Capone do? By the way, Mike, do you know what Al Capone's favorite management quote was? I hope you don't adopt it, and none of you should adopt this. He said, you can always get more with a kind word and a gun than you can with just a kind word. So how would Al Capone solve your problem, for example? And by definition, that's outside your box. It's someone that's provocative. What would Dennis Rodman do, for example? Outside your box of reasoning. That's the point. And metaphoric thinking is the last one. This occurs when you take your problem and you liken it to a system that you understand well, like a train or a garden. A garden is a good metaphor for business growth. A beehive, whatever it might be. And you take that system that you understand, take it apart into its component parts, and you try to relate those component parts to your system. And when you find something that is present in the metaphor but is absent in your system, you apply that 3-step model and you'll create ideas you didn't have. It works. A little more difficult to run, but it works. Here's a good example from Sears Roebuck using reversed assumptions. So the problem we worked on was, how might we get these 2 million people who walked and bought somewhere else to stay in the store and buy from us? Okay? And reversing hidden assumptions was a technique we used, and the way that works is you make a long list of the things you assume or take for granted about your problem. You go down that list and you reverse them. When you make the list, you are making the walls of that box visible. When you reverse them, you just punch through the wall, and that puts you outside. Okay? That's why it works. So the long list they made were some obvious things. And then they got the one that wasn't so obvious. Our customers know what we have to offer. Do you make that same assumption about your customer base? Probably. Maybe not. Depends on the business you might be in. So they reversed that assumption. Our customers do not know what we have to offer. When they did that, they came up with a long list of things that they offered. And one of the things that Sears offers that most people don't know about, it turns out, is a price match guarantee. You know that? If you can find it cheaper somewhere else, Sears will match the price on the spot. And so what they decided to do was to publicize that. And the way they decided to publicize it was to create the Sears Tearaway program. And here's a picture of the form right over here on the right. And so if you go into Sears as a serious appliance purchaser, the sales associate is instructed to complete this form with you that lists the kind of thing you're looking for and the features that you want. And the biggest important message on this form is at the bottom. Remember, we price match. And so if the customer decides even after that that they want to walk, and they'll say something like, well, we'll be back. Well, the sales associate knows you're not coming back. They'll take you over to the internet kiosk that they've installed for this program, and they'll say something like, let's go check the internet. And if we can get it cheaper, we'll sell it to you for that price right here and right now. And would you like it delivered today or tomorrow? That one idea in the year 2000 has accounted for an increase of $200 million in revenue from one idea. It says 100 there. They've upped the number. They've recalculated. $200 million in new revenue from one idea, folks. The power of an idea. It's really, really, and you know, the thing about it is, when you got these good ideas and you look back on it, it makes perfect sense. It is so right. Why didn't we think of that? Well, we didn't think of it because we were in our boat going down the Colorado River through the Grand Canyon in our thinking. Why is the Colorado River where it is? Because it's always been there. Why do we think the way we think? Because we've always thought that way.